Coming up in this episode of the Curt podcast, I preview Sunday's game between the Seahawks and Lions. I'll go with the first injury reports of the week for both teams and some storylines for the matchup and more. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's time to start the show. What up, dude? And welcome to the Curt podcast, your trusted source for Detroit Lions news and rumors. I'm your host, Curt. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and share it with fellow Lions fans just like yourself. Follow me on your favorite social media platforms and visit CurtSteele.com. Today is Thursday, September 14th, 2023. And shout out to my family at Lions Nation Unite. Let's get after it, man. Ford Field will be rocking on Sunday. Man, I heard somebody could be masked up out there in the stands. The Lions are looking to get their leg back after falling to Seattle the past 2 seasons. But first up, before we get into all that jazz, man, listen to the injury report for both teams and tell you who's riding that choo-choo pain train, baby. Now, the Lions did not practice on Wednesday, but they did practice on Tuesday because of the long layover from the mini bye week of playing on Thursday night. But here is what would have happened on Wednesday if the Lions would have practiced. So this is an estimate. Taylor Decker would have not have been out there because of the ankle injury. Khalil Dorsey would have not practiced because of the illness. And Emmanuel Mosley would have been out with a knee and hamstring injury. And Frank Ragnar would have been a full participant with that toe, man. Got to get on the good foot, baby. Now, like I said, they did not practice. Here's the deal. What's going on with Emmanuel Mosley? He's set up for this setback, in his recovery from the ACL injury with a hamstring. I'm not surprised that he got a soft tissue injury while rehabbing the knee because of the fact that this happens when you are trying to rehab a part of your body, especially in the leg region. You're going to overexert another part of the leg. So probably getting back, working hard to get that knee back into shape, and overexerted that hamstring. Soft tissue injuries happen. He hasn't, been really a full participant out there on the field. So that's just what's going on with him. Taylor Decker is still expected. A lot of beat reporters and people who are in the know close to the team are saying that the team is being cautious with him. Want to make sure they're getting him ready to play on Sunday and limiting his practice time. So that's what's going on with the Lions practice report. For the Seahawks, man, they had some few people that did not participate on Wednesday. They did practice out there. You had the left tackle, Charles Cross, was out with a toe injury. Boye Mafi, the linebacker, was out with a knee injury. And former Michigan Wolverine Mike Morris, defensive end, was out with a shoulder injury. Now, limited participation for Wednesday for the Seahawks. You had safety Jamal Adams returning from that knee injury, and linebacker Devin Bush, another former Wolverine, was limited with a shoulder injury on Wednesday. Full participation, you had tight end Will Disley with a shoulder injury. Cornerback Devin Witherspoon has not played yet this season. He's still rehabbing from that hamstring injury that happened at Illinois, but he was a full participant yesterday. And nose tackle Cameron Young was a full participant with a knee injury. Now, here's something that's a key note, and we're going to talk about this here in a minute. Seattle placed their starting right tackle, Abraham Lucas, on injured reserve on Tuesday. And Pete McCarroll mentioned that it's going to be tough to get that starting left tackle, Charles Cross, on the field with that toe injury. So, man, that's going to be an interesting set of events. Now, that's who's riding that choo-choo pain train, baby. Now, game designations do not come out until Friday. I will update you on those when they come out. Happens at Friday afternoon. Check here on my YouTube channel. It'll probably be a short video coming out Friday afternoon, Saturday morning on who what guys will not be playing for either team, who will we already be out before the inactives come out on Sunday. Now, those injuries especially for Seattle, leads me to the first storyline of the game versus Seattle for the Lions. It is that banged up offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks, man, versus Aiden Hutchinson and company. Hutchinson didn't get a sack versus Mahomes last week. I think that's because, man, the refs just allowed Juwan Taylor to line up incorrectly and to have several false starts that were not called during the game. Hutch, I think he would have had a couple of sacks if that was the case, if he was able to line up correctly. Excuse me. If you look at what happened with the Seattle Seahawks when they lost both starting tackles in the game versus the Rams last week, they kept them clean in the first half, man. When those guys went down, gave up 2 sacks to the Los Angeles Rams, and we heard probably the funniest line in football for a while, man, when Aaron Donald came screaming around on a stunt, and Geno Smith said, "Oh my God!" he was. It's gonna be a lot of that this weekend, man, because Hutchinson gonna be, "Oh my God!" right in his face all game. I think the Lions should be able to eat versus that hobbled offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. They brought in a 41-year-old Jason Peters, signed him to the practice squad. They're already elevated a player to take the place of Abraham Lucas, who went on the injured reserve. I think they probably will bring somebody else up again, because you look at it, I don't think Charles Cross will be able to play for the Seattle Seahawks. So that hobbled Seattle Seahawks offensive line, I think the Lions pass rush should be able to get after it and play downhill. I think it's going to hurt in the run game as well, especially to runs to the boundary, because you have 2 guys that are new starters or backups playing against the starting defensive ends and linebackers for the Lions. I think they should be able to set the edge and keep that running game in check for the Seahawks, because of the fact that they're not going to have their starting individuals out there on the edge. So that's going to be a key storyline for the Lions and Seahawks on Sunday. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop me a comment. I'll hit you back as soon as I can. Hit the notification bell so you know when you're getting a fresh video right here on my YouTube channel. And for more Detroit Lions content from me, visit CurtSteele.com. You can find links to my articles on Sideline Report, yardbarker.com, and just some original articles right there on the homepage. Please follow me on your favorite social media platforms. You can find the links right there on the homepage as well. And you can get yourself some Curt Steele gear at the L&U shop right on the homepage, man. It says Curt Steele gear right there on CurtSteele.com. You see the Regal Lion, man. My man Herman Moore and those guys host my gear shop right there over there on L&U, man. So you can get yourself the Boss Up, Ball Out, What Up, those shirts, man. And the Regal Lion is all over the L&U shop for Curt Steele gear. So head over there, and the proceeds from the sales of that gear help me to grow the content right here on the channel. All right, let's get back into this game preview for the Lions and Seahawks, man. Let's look at Geno Smith did not have a great passing game in week 1 versus the Los Angeles Rams, man. Only went 16 for 26, 112 yards. He did have a nice touchdown to DK Metcalf on a nice route. The Lions revamped secondary is much improved in their debut versus the Chiefs. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you, it wasn't perfect, man. There was some miscommunications, but it was better than they played last season. They held Patrick Mahomes to 21 of 39 passing. That's pretty good. They had some drops by their other receivers. 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. We know about that pick 6, man. We'll get into that a little bit later too. But Smith lit up the Lions last year for the Seahawks, man. That dude had 23 of 30 for 320 yards and 2 touchdowns versus the Detroit Lions last year in Ford Field. But I think the Lions are better equipped to slow him down this time around. Plus, he's going to be running from his life. From the first, we're talking about that offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. He's not going to have much time to pass the ball. I just think that it's going to be a tougher go for him. I think the Lions secondary, that pass defense, is better matchup for the Seattle Seahawks this time around. Now, that leads me to the second storyline that I'm talking about for this game. It's going to be between 2 standout rookies, Brian Branch for the Lions and Jackson Smith and Jigma for the Seattle Seahawks. And Jigba, Smith and Jigba was a standout wide receiver at Ohio State. coming in. He's one of the highly touted pass catchers in the last year's draft, or this year's draft. And then Brian Branch, I know who he is, man. BB doing his thing, man. Had that pick 6 versus the Chiefs in his first professional game. Smith and Jigma did not have a stellar debut, 3 catches for 13 yards, but don't sleep on Smith and Jigma. The dude is a great route runner, man, and he is an absolute stud. So you look at these 2 young players, seen as top talents in this year's rookie class. They faced off once in college back in 2022 in the national championship game between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Crimson Tide of the University of Alabama. And Branch got the best of that matchup, man. Holding Smith and Jigman to only 2 catches for 20 yards in that game in a 52-24 win for the Crimson Tide. We're going to see if that's going to be a stellar matchup. Who's going to win that matchup? Because Smith's going to need to Geno Smith is going to need to get the ball out of his hands, and usually that goes and it plays well into who is playing the slot receiver, and Smith and Jigma is going to be matched up against one of the best young defensive backs in Brian Branch. So that's going to be a matchup that I look at, and that's a good storyline. Those 2 young studs facing off against each other for the game. Now, let's kind of switch over to the Lions offense versus the Seattle defense. Now, the Lions offense is much improved from last season. I think they're built to succeed against Seattle. Now, they didn't play bad last year for the fourth quarter, because the first 3 quarters, the Seattle Seahawks held them in check, but the Lions put up 22 points in the fourth quarter last year. And I think that the Lions didn't have their offensive line was hobbled. Their offensive line was hobbled last year when they faced off, especially at the right guard position. So you look at it this time around, the Lions have a healthier and better offensive line this year. And I think they'll be able to exert their will on a young defensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, one thing the Seattle Seahawks are getting back a few players in the back end. They're the defense. Jamal Adams, who didn't play last week, will be playing, which looks like he'll be trending towards playing this week. He was limited in practice. He had that shoulder injury. And Devin Witherspoon, we all know about him. One of the guys that the Lions fans wanted the Lions to pick up. Great cornerback coming out of Illinois. But here's the deal with those 2 guys coming back. They haven't been on the field yet this season. And it's maybe take some adjustments for them to get back into playing as a unit, playing cohesively. And you look at Ben Johnson, the multiple looks, is it a run play? It looks like a run play, but it's a pass play. It looks like a pass play. It's a run play because they run the same play out of multiple sets. Multiple plays out of the same set, excuse me. So if you look at that, I'm looking at what Ben Johnson can scheme up. I think he should be able to take advantage of the Seattle defense. Matthew Stafford torched them for like 330 yards last week. I think can be the same thing this week, but I don't think that the Lions will have to pass that much, because I think that the running game should be able to take a good chunk of the game, control the line of scrimmage, control the clock, long sustained drives. That's the key to success for the Lions. I think we'll be able to do that against the Seattle Seahawks defense this weekend. I don't think that will be a problem. I think the Lions offense will be able to take advantage of the Seattle Seahawks defense. And that brings me to the final storyline of the show. And that is, will third time be a charm? The charm, excuse me. It's one of those things. If you don't know, the Lions this will be the 3rd year in a row the Lions have played Seattle. And the 3rd time that Dan Campbell has faced Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll has got the best of Dan Campbell. The first time in 2021 in Seattle, the Seahawks just ran us out of the building, 51-29. But the Lions were a different team. And then last season, it was a close game, especially in the fourth quarter, 48-45 in that shootout at Ford Field. Would a third time be the charm for the Lions? I think it will be. I think the Lions will get this victory. The BetMGM Sportbook, I think they had Seattle at 5.5-point favorites, but I think it's up now to 6 points. I'm picking the Lions to win big over Seattle. I think it's going to be 35-10. I just think that the Lions defense will just manhandle the Seattle Seahawks offense. I think they just better equipped this time with its hobbled offensive line and the vastly improved pass rush and linebacker play of the Detroit defense, and the back end is improved as well. Detroit will be the better team this time around, and I just think they'll be able to take advantage of both lines of scrimmage. So you look at that. That's my pick for the game. So go ahead and give me a score prediction for you in the comments below. It's time for dessert with Curt. Sweet bits of news and notes about the Detroit Lions. Brian Branch is up for Pepsi Zero Rookie of the Week, which performance versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Branch had 3 tackles, 1 pass breakup, and that beautiful 50-yard pick six. Head over to NFL.com and place your vote for BB to help him get that belt for Pepsi Zero Rookie of the Week. And that's your dessert with Curt for 14 September 2023. Thanks for joining me for this episode of the Curt Still Podcast, your trusted source for Detroit Lions news and rumors. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop me a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Hit the notification bell so you know when you get that fresh right here on my YouTube channel. For more Detroit Lions content from me, head over to CurtStill.com, where you can find links to my articles on Sideline Report and YardBarker.com, and original content right there on the homepage as well. Do your man Curt Still a favor. Whatever you do in life, you got to boss up, ball out, and be the best version of you that you can be. This is Curt Still, and I will holla at you real soon.